for a slideshow, and I'm going to share my screen so you'll lose me, but you should see a screen here, and then I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave it kind of minimized, at least from my perspective, if that's okay. But what I'll do is I'll go over this PowerPoint, and then I'm going to go over some things actually in Canvas. I'm going to pull up the Sandbox course, and that will obviously help demonstrate some of the things that I'm talking about, so it's very real and practical versus just talking in general. So again, I'm not sure if I can move this thing. Okay, I think I can. Let's see. Let me shrink this down a little bit, move it out of the way. And I think I can start this up, but not over dominate too much. Okay. So basically, we want to make online learning more on-site than on-site. And what I mean by that is we all have been, or most of us have been, through traditional on-site schooling where we go to class maybe 2 to 3 times a week, some of us more if it's concentrated, and we see the professor for so much time. I never got a phone number all the years I went to Center and University of Louisville, the 2 schools I went primarily, until I went online. Then I started getting phone numbers and emails, and it became a lot more interactive. Having said that, when you go online, you lose that personal touch. So how do you do that? You can use phone calls and all that, but there's other technologies, one of them being videos. So that's what this is. The goal is to make more on-site feeling and make more of a personal connection. So that's what this is about. Oh, this is beautiful. This is working. Okay, overview. Why do we want to use videos? And I'm not going to go, I don't have to read every slide, but ways to use them in the classroom, which we talked a little bit. Some of the positives and negatives, there are both, okay? And how to make videos. Well, I'm not going to show you every step, but I'm going to show you some techniques to maybe make it a little bit easier or more user-friendly. Some of the things is, what I noticed when I started this years ago and 11,000 videos later, okay, is that we can connect with students, again, with the coursework. We type things, we get feedback, we can call. I get probably 10 phone calls a day minimum from students from all the teaching I do. And what I understand from most schools is that's very odd. You might get 8 or 10 the whole semester, meaning like 16 weeks, but you're not going to get as many per day. And I think videos contribute to that. So that helps to make you look like a real person to them. The YouTube effect. Students like looking at YouTube. They like watching video feeds and Facebook. They like the idea of watching things. It's a video-driven technology or society. My daughter, who at the time was very young, she's now 12, well, she's still young, but she kind of gave me that belief, like this, a lot of people, especially younger generation people, like videos. They like to have that interaction. They like written to some point, but they really like videos. So that's the YouTube effect. Plus, if someone cannot use YouTube, they have a real problem with their computer, their phone, or the internet, because almost everything can play YouTube, okay? An alternative to typing. When I retired out of the Air Force after the Army as an officer, and I got injured in multiple places and all over my body. And so one of them is my right arm, so that's my dominant hand. So I do type very fast. I had to get a gaming keyboard, high tactile, but there are days when my hands hurt because of the injuries. I can't change that. So this is an alternative to typing. I was just talking to a gentleman the other day who has multiple sclerosis, and he says, while I don't like the idea of students seeing some of the tremors, I can't type as well. And sometimes the Dragon conversation piece doesn't work. So the videos are a good alternative for grading, and we'll go into some of that later. Creating another mode of communication. Again, it's one thing to do typing, it's one thing to do written feedback. These are all valuable things, but we also want to make sure that we use technology where it makes sense. And this is another way. I've talked about the on-site feeling to the course. We want people to feel connected to you. And I'm going to show how we can use the videos. And I want to make it clear, not everything's going to work for everybody. If you just do a few things or one thing, that's better than not doing anything. And you have to develop what works for your class. I always recommend a blend of written and a blend of videos. And I think both of those enhance the experience. Going one way or the other can maybe maybe make it less one way. In other words, some students like reading, some like videos. About 90% of students like videos from what I'm noticing. Some are just anti-video, but then again, if I give written feedback, I have a lot more that are anti-written feedback. So they don't want to read as much and dig into the papers. So using videos in the classroom, there are a couple of things I always stress. You should always try to use a welcome video. That shows you're a real person. It shows where you work. It shows the office. It shows something about you that makes it more personal. And that's something I would recommend. And I've done that with other schools, is to say, this is something that is very, very important, that almost every professor should do welcome videos. Now, I like to do announcements each week. I do written ones, and then I might follow up later that day or later in the week and say, hey, this is week whatever. I just want to go over a few things and stress a few points, kind of like you're teaching again on site, but you're not really focused on that. You can make generic videos that you can say each week if you teach the same course, and you can just put that code in there every, and build it up. Or you can sit there and do it specific each week. I don't think it takes a lot of time to do one specific, because you may have a holiday. Veterans Day, for example, is coming up, and that's exciting for me at least. And I enjoy doing that, so I talk a lot about that. In Ashford, we also have the ability to do video emails, which I'll show people. Assignment feedback, I'll show people that you can do that with discussion posts as well. That I do that exclusively with discussion posts. And then, of course, we have assessments, or if you will, PowerPoints, papers, things like that. One thing I will show in a little bit, I won't show it right away, but setting up an education channel. I have all the tabs set up so everyone can see those at one time. And this is just a presentation at one of the veteran conferences, a picture. They always say add pictures, so I had to add a picture. Some of the positives is obviously you make connections with students. Like I said, I know if I'm getting 8 to 10 phone calls a day, I'm making a connection. There's something going on different. More detailed feedback. When I do a video, I may only do a video that can be a minute. It can be up to 10 minutes, depending on the paper, discussion, whatever. But I guarantee you I can give more feedback in that length of time than someone writing. It also moves you away from the cut and paste effect. We all know what that is. If we are at Ashford, we know the waypoint system, and you get your little codes and your little words, and we click on them, and all that works that way. We know that that becomes kind of like boilerplate, and we just cut, paste, or push the word. It gives us the whole thing that we typed in. It looks new to a point, but this guarantees it. You're using the student's name. You're being very specific and detailed. It's as if you're sitting there with them talking about their paper or their assignment. The classroom is more on site. You're literally, it's visual, so obviously you're going to get that. Also, too, if you use the right tools, it's cheap, and if not free with YouTube. And I'm going to go into some things about YouTube you got to watch so we don't make big mistakes with FERPA or something like that. Some of the negatives, let's just be honest about it. It does take more time. When I do a video, I will sit there and tell students, this is Dr. Pete. I want to use this video and give you a lot more feedback, but it does take me a lot more time. I let them know that because I want them to think and understand that I'm taking more time to do this so they can have a better educational experience. So it's just almost guaranteed I will mention this every time. You have to obviously record it, which I'll show you some tricks in a second. You have to upload it, it has to process, and of course you have to post it. And I'll show a few of these techniques. I'm not going to go over everything, but I just want to show technique. It can be very uncomfortable. Some people do not like to talk. They think it has to be a Hollywood performance, like everything has to be perfect every time, and that's simply not true. We just be normal. But then some people say, well, I want to be an online professor because I don't have to be public. I don't have to be, pictures. And so that's something that can be uncomfortable, and that's just something to be aware of. The ADA awareness, some people have American Disability Act issues. Like I talked to another gentleman who had Parkinson, and he shakes a lot. So he doesn't like videos for that reason. So that might be something to note. So there are some ADA considerations. And then, of course, some of the negatives is phone calls. I get a lot of phone calls. Now, I think it's positive, but some professors do not think it's positive. So that's something to note. And this can cause you to have a lot of phone calls very quickly. How to make and use videos. I'm going to show how to set the computer up real quick, nothing technical. Loading videos, embedding an education channel, and I'll go into this in a second. Now, this is my Reagan, and I always, well, she's calling on my phone too. So, but this is her trying to think of some great questions. And Sally's going to help me after I get done with some of the things I promised to show you. And so I also want to note that if anyone needs to call me, my phone number is 502-233-4585. And I have absolutely nothing wrong with anyone calling me. I don't have any problem with that. What I'm going to show you here is what I call the Dr. Pete Education channel. It's nothing great. And the only reason that picture is sideways is YouTube does that, and I don't know how to fix it. So I'm going to be very honest about that. But I wanted to set up a channel that I could have my videos and students could subscribe. Now, this came from students. A student told me years ago, Dr. Pete, I like the way the videos work. I have no concept of, how do I keep contacting you? How do I keep calling you? Well, if you have hundreds of students going on, over the course of a year, you can imagine how much that can pile up on somebody, right? So you want to make sure that you have, like I have 139 subscribers. Sometimes it'll shoot up, sometimes it'll shoot down. Some people just look at the channel, they don't actually subscribe. So I have hundreds of students watching these videos. And sometimes I'll put, like here, I do veteran videos. I have different playlists. I do a lot of government, so I do like electoral college, maybe feedback. I do a lot of psychology, like how is it, would you want to do coursework? Here's APA, here's writing concept, research, all these things. So this is why I set this channel up. It's nothing great, doesn't take a lot of work, but it's something that can be very helpful in continuing your support for students over the course of their education. And it's interesting too, this can be a recruiting tool for your college. It doesn't matter what school you're with, but it can actually help you to develop other students in a roundabout way. And I'll give you an example. I had a student that was in Afghanistan. They went to a firefight, they're Marines, they went to a firefight. They have this video popped up. They get done with their firefight, and this is what I love about the military, and this is why I'm kind of sad I retired. But they get in a firefight, and they say, well, hey, I got a video from my Dr. Pete. So they go in, all these Marines get around this video in the middle of Afghanistan. They start watching this video, okay? And they're saying, this is how you do a paper. This is what we do to make it better. And then they go back to the firefight maybe an hour later. It's the most amazing thing. Another thing too is if you have someone deployed, like a soldier or someone who is like, say, I had people with the hurricane, I can do videos specifically to them. I did some to military people that were in the combat zone saying, just come home. I know what it's like to, have injuries. I know what, I want you to serve the country and do the best you can. We'll work out the education side of it. And you can be very sincere. They can see you talking. It's not words, it's sincerity, okay? And that can be a very bonding moment for professors and their students. One of the things I want to note is YouTube. This is basically, if I can move this out of the way, this is the standard YouTube form, and I will show you what I do. I have my camera button on my desktop, and I'm not going to go into technical details. I have it saved to this temporary file and you can see the temporary file here. I do an AU Ashford test video. I do this simply because I want to be able to delete these all the time. When I'm done for the day, I delete them because I know they're uploaded. So I don't want to eat up a lot of space. But I have this camera saved to this file, and then I know where my videos are. So if I were to upload, let me kind of minimize it. If I were to say, I want to upload this AU test video, and that could be whatever it is. So I drop it over here. And when it dropped over, you notice it starts saying uploading. So this is a short video, so it should go upload very quickly. I can change the name. This is the key thing, unlisted. You always want to set your videos at unlisted. Remember, this is free. If you set it at private, no one will be able to see it. If you set it public, everyone will be able to see it. And that could be a very bad thing if you're giving feedback to students. So always set it to unlisted. That means wherever you put it or wherever you send that link, that person will have access. Now, I just pushed this done button because I'm already named it. So when this thing's done here, it's going to do two things for me, okay? It's going to give me a link, or it's going to give me embedded code. And this is where it's very, very important to know the difference, okay? So this is going to be done in a second here. And it's going to process. YouTube does a neat thing where it actually uploads and processes at the same time now. That's another cool feature. Another neat feature, it has closed captioning. And so if you have any students, I had a deaf student say it was the first time they saw a professor talk to them and they could read my lips. I had a blind student say it was the first time they ever heard a professor talk to them. So it's very, very supportive of disabled people. And being 100% disabled American veteran, I'm very, very conscious of that. So you can see this AU test video. Note the share. This is just the hype. This is just a link. Embedded is an embedded code. And there are two different reasons we use this. If I were to maximize this again, and I say, I want to make an announcement. Okay, so if I want to make an announcement, I go back to this embedded code. I right-click copy, and I say, I want to make an announcement here. And so at Ashford, Canvas is so pro video, it's not even funny. I can just put test announcement, if I could learn how to spell here. And I'm just making this very quick and easy. I go to this right here. See this HTML, that's a code. I right-click, I can delay, user post, enable, allow, whatever you want. I save, and we have magic in the woods. Now I can type before that, I can type after it, or I can just leave it. And if I push play, hopefully this will come through the computer, but it'll. Hello everyone, this is the test email that I will use throughout the course to show. So that's that. So if I want to do an announcement, I think this is very valuable. You can go over everything. You can go over the syllabus, you can go over the course, you can do whatever you want here. So it's very, very valuable to do that. Having said that, I will delete out of this to make it less congested. Let's say we do post your introduction. Now there's two moving parts here. There's an edit button here, and I add a video at the end and tell students, you can use a video too. I want to know more about you. I put my video right at the bottom here. Or I can reply if I want to be fancy. Again, HTML, right click, that's the code, that's embedded code, click, and there it is again, okay? Or I can go up here and do it, see this edit button here, and then I see this is right here. I can say HTML editor, I go to this last line, I put the code again, and I push save. And so what's nice about this, students see this and they see my test video, well, say like intro to the class, or you can put videos from YouTube, like say it's about a topic and you think someone did a really good job, you can use their code off of YouTube or wherever and put that there. Or you can put your lesson in there. So you know these students are going to see this because you know it's right there when they read it. So that's a valuable aspect of it. That's post. The same thing with discussion post. If I could pull up my class, you would see a video here, and that would tell students, okay, I teach political science a lot. So here's the question, here's the issue, here's what's going on. Here's a video by me or by someone else that helps them understand this. And it's funny, sometimes they'll actually cite the video. That's an interesting thing that happens from time to time. So I will get rid of that. Now, conversations, this is a sandbox, so there's no issues whatsoever. This is an interesting part of Canvas, and this is what I love about this program. I can send this to everybody. I send, the address, we all get this, but note this little button here, this record audio, record. If I click here, I can actually type in something. I can allow it to use my camera. As long as my camera's off, it will turn it back on. And I can actually send a video email. Now, this is probably one of the coolest features of Canvas you can have. Do you always want to send video emails? No. But every now and then it's pretty cool to send an email and tell students, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, it's the weekend, I'm going to be working, here's my number, here's what's going on, or hey, I'm on vacation, but I'll be doing this or that, whatever. So there's a lot of neat features to the email side of it. And then also the gradebook. I cannot do this here, but if you go to discussion post under speed grader, you can actually, I do this exclusively. I give video feedback for every discussion post that I grade. So you can actually do this under discussion posts because that's how cool and how solid Canvas is. What's nice about that is the videos go directly into the system and you don't have to actually upload and do all that work. So in short, that's basically where we're at. I'm going to unshare the top here and see, just hopefully that works out pretty good. But having said that, Sally, is this about the time where I think we have time to ask some questions or answer some questions? Or
Yes, we do. We had one question about being compliant with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. And the question, I think, is providing a script. And also, we got to thank you for your service with that question.
Well, I always jokingly say, just keep paying your taxes. I appreciate it because my retirement check is based off your taxes. So I do appreciate that quite a bit. So there's no reason to say thank you. You all do quite enough for me. The debate, there are some people that will talk about compliancy issues. One, there is a closed captioning feature. Anyone that has a disability tends to have better, well, let me say this. I've had blind students, I've had deaf students tell me that the YouTube does better than the actual programs they have. How true that is, I don't know. I can just tell you what they've said. Now, having said that, I also come from the perspective that if you have that there and you have the closed captioning, some students may not like it and you have to make that decision to help. I also bring into the discussion is that when I go into a classroom, I don't bring a transcript for everything I say. And that's very, very important because at some point you have to sit there and ask that question. Are you trying to have the intent of the law? Are you trying to help students with another aspect that can make their educational experience better? So having said that, I've done this at many, many schools and they are all compliant and no one seems to have a big issue with it. They've checked it. I've checked it with the Department of Education myself. I know that there are some people that really are big on transcripting everything, but having said that, that's more like if it's in the course. So for example, remember the guy, I don't know, it's in political science, there's a guy that has a mustache and glasses and a jacket, and he kind of looks like the crazy nutty professor. That concept came from what I would do each week. And so he has a transcript because he's like an actor. And so he does that, and that's part of the course curriculum. So one would argue that has to be transcripted. Having said that, when you're doing videos or you're enhancing things, that's a different issue. Plus you have the closed captioning just in case someone does argue that. So that would be where I would come from. That's where I've done this throughout. And I've never had a compliance issue whatsoever. So actually I've had more disabled people tell me that they're so happy to hear my voice, which is not really the best voice in the world. It's very monotone. And I've had people say that we're just happy you're wearing a shirt because I can see you and you need to move your lips more because I'm deaf and I have to look at your lips. So I've had to learn to move my lips more. I know that sounds funny, but there are deaf people that do read lips in order to supplement the closed captioning. So that's a really good question, and it was debated very fiercely for some years. And I think eventually people finally said, well, yeah, you're right. If you walk into the classroom, do you have to, and say you play a video on the, in the classroom, do you have to transcribe all that? Do you have to transcribe everything you say in the classroom? And at some point, the law and technology and everything has to come together. And what's the intent? What's the purpose? And what's our goal? And that's where I think most schools are siding with what we're doing. And that's why I think it's a very positive thing overall. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pete. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes left. This is fascinating stuff.
Well, I'm going to type in my number too. And that's my home number. Just remember, I live in Kentucky, which is fast time. We call it fast time, Eastern Standard. And then I'll type in my personal email, but obviously you can email me at the school. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish the school would let people come into the classroom and see how the videos are set up. I kind of wish I could block all the student names and, so people can see how it's interactive. And, but obviously we have FERPA and there's those issues there. So I hate that, but it is the law. That's the way we work.
I grew up in fast time. It's to me, my mind will always be in the Eastern time zone.
Well, it's funny because when we did this, I was told it was at noon, and I was like, "Oh, that's good. I can eat lunch or do it and eat lunch." And you're like, "No, it's 3:15." I'm like, "Oh no, I don't want to make that
Pacific
mistake." So,
time. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but another thing too with using videos, it's asynchronous, right? So you don't have to worry if a student starts having, like, say, I have some deployed in Korea or Japan. I don't have to worry about that time issue as well. Now, if you do want to, you can actually use Zoom, like what we're doing now. And I do that occasionally, but most students that do Zoom, they just rather do a phone call because some of their internet connections can be choppy. And another thing too is be respectful of people. I mean, I always say keep it simple, stupid, the KISS concept, but also realize this isn't going to solve everything. It's just another tool in the arsenal, meaning some students just simply will not get it. Like they get overwhelmed. If I give you a 5-minute video, I can touch on every aspect of this paper as if I'm sitting there with you. That's
Mhm.
very overwhelming for people who normally get a few canned responses on each page. Remember the requirement, you had to make 3 written statements? Well, that means I had to type in 3 words as a professor and the statements would pop up. Well, that's canned responses. That could be really quick and that's how it's efficient, but at the same time, it's not very personal. And so if I do a 5, anywhere from like say a 1-minute feedback for a discussion post, but up to maybe 3 to 5 for a final paper, well, it becomes quite involved. I can repeat things, I can point things, I can say there's grammar, there's the headers, I call it the Goldilocks effect with the 4 to 5 sentences, 4 to 6 sentences. I want you to cite in each paragraph. Here's an APA. I can go over every little aspect of that paper. And some people get tore up about that because they've never heard this. So I always tell people there's this really cool feature in videos. It's called the pause button, okay? And you can actually pause it and go back if you want to, and you can watch it. And if you're really, really good, one student told me she takes every hyperlink and puts it in a Word document because she goes back and plays them in her future courses. And so it's kind of a pretty cool, aspect of the whole video usage. Let me make sure I'm typing to the group.
We've
Some
got a
people,
couple,
they were asking about
oh yeah, over there when it
they
says
see, wait,
2.
that's private. Is that private or is that, I want to make sure my phone number gets
Yeah,
out.
where it says 2, if you click on that, I think it'll say everybody.
Oh, okay. Let me do this. I'm sorry, guys.
And
This is
while
my
you're
technology.
typing, if you can multitask, one of the questions that I'm kind of seeing, if I can kind of put them together, because we don't have much time left, is, where do we start if we haven't done this at all? And if we have really big classes, how can we start to just implement little bits of this and then go from there?
My personal, this is what I believe, okay? One, you do a welcome video. That's so important. It lets people know who you are. And you can have a transcript on that one, meaning where's your normal welcome statement? Put that with your video. It doesn't have to be word for word. I mean, that's a lot of work and we all understand that. But let students see you. Let them understand who you are. That's a good time to wear a shirt or maybe a suit top or something, just be very professional. That's a good, and then always watch behind you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to, you see my shirts on the wall back there? That's my professional dress. I change my shirts every so often. And I have students laugh about that. It shows you're a real person though, okay? The other aspect is if you want to get into it more, do a weekly discussion, like a weekly announcement. Do your standard announcement. There's nothing wrong with that. And then maybe 2 days later say, hey, it's the middle of the week, just letting you know what's going on. And I've been getting some phone calls and this is an issue. Or, hey, I just got done with grading. There seems to be some issues. Let me address this real quick. Hey, it's Friday and I just want to welcome you all to Friday and I'm going to be working this weekend and what can I do? And hey, call me. I know some of you have scheduled. Hey, it's Monday. Just add those videos as announcements. Not very time consuming, very positive. Now, I think personally, one of the best places is to do videos and discussion posts. I'm telling you right now, students will tell me, I looked at the other videos for other students, so I understood what the assignment was about. And I didn't realize students did that. I thought, I just want to focus on my stuff. They'll actually go do that. And then what's also nice is if you want to start an education channel or call it whatever you want, it does not bother me in the least. But start an education channel because then you can start archiving your work and then you can make announcements. Hey, if you need more help with APA, I did a video on this. And then students can go to that repository And they can sit there and say, okay, now you're helping. Now, look, if we're all real professors and you're not worried about a paycheck, right? I mean, obviously we want to pay our food and all that. But if you're really a good professor and you really care about your students, you want to keep helping them. The problem is time. And that's the reality of the world. So set up your education channel and you can make, here's teaching videos. Here's the expertise. Like I'm an OL teacher, management and political science. So I have 3 different categories. I don't get a lot of OL requests because everyone's an expert in leadership, but I get a lot of political science ones. If you're going to teach a class, be neutral. Teach the topic. Don't teach the politics. Teach the topic. And that, I think those things help. Now, if you really want to get advanced, I mean, super, super advanced, use them for emails, use them for discussion posts. Those are low threat. I do them for final papers. I'll sit there and take that paper and do a video for every final paper. I do written feedback, like in the summary, but I put that video and hyperlink it in there. I'm going to tell you right now, there will be some students who do not like it. So you have to make the decision, do you adjust to them or not? And sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. I get that. But make it work for you. It shouldn't be a policy. It shouldn't be required. It should be something that you say, I can see this working here. I can see it not working here. I don't have this much time. But the more you do videos, the quicker it's going to be. I upload 2 videos at a time. I have one loaded. I make another one. I load that one. The other one gets done. It becomes almost like a process. And that's the trick. So, but I will say this again. My number's there. My email's there. And anybody who wants to call. I just received a 2017 Innovative Faculty of the Year Award out of 600 professors going for it. I was very shocked. They told me to bring my dad to the online thing. I was like, oh, this would be so embarrassing if my dad shows up and I don't win. But anyways, I did, and that was cool. But my point being is, part of it is, it doesn't matter what I win if I don't put my number out there, if I don't take phone calls, if I don't take emails, or you can email me at the school. But that's the commitment I will make, because Ashford has given me a job for multiple years. They've let me perfect this here at Ashford. We've changed the school in a lot of ways, and we're going to keep doing it. So I want to make sure I do my part to give back to the school that's given me so much. So I think that's about the time limit, right?
We are, and I could
Okay.
sit here for at least another hour and listen, Dr. Pete.
No
I'm
worries.
very grateful for your time, and I have a feeling you're going to be getting some phone
That's
calls
fine.
and emails.
No
I want
worries.
to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for joining this session.